Hello and welcome back to Morning, your marketing science wake-up call, where we talk all things media measurement and market mix modeling. My name is Will Marks and I'm head of marketing science at MeetingX. Today, we're going to be talking about detail because these days, data is life and the demand for metrics against every part of an organization has never been greater. This is why it can be a common area of frustration for marketers when they're told that there's limits to how granular a model can go. But why is this the case? Are models or modelers just being lazy? Are we just not pushing them hard enough or being smart enough? So I'm going to talk about some of those physical barriers in this space and the considerations a marketer should have to ensure they're approaching it in a way that's going to give them the best balance of accuracy and granularity. Welcome to my shop. I have a side hustle, a business that sells seashells that have been freshly picked from the seashore. It's called Seize the Day. I've been selling through display, social, video, etc. And today I've just been using digital attribution to tell me where my sales have been coming from. But it's time to launch a market mix model because I want to understand the incrementality of each of those different channels. I've found a reputable provider of market mix models, and I've made it clear. I want results split by different shell categories, the location of the sale, and whether the buyer is a new or an existing customer. The market mix modeler shakes their head and says, sorry, that's not going to be possible. That's too much detail. And obviously, I slammed the phone down. I'm in total disgust. I actually know a guy I met in a pub the other day who told me that he could model at that level of detail. So I'm going to give him a call instead. This is obviously a bad idea. Never do business with someone who's making crazy claims in a pub. I'm going to explain why I should have listened to the more trustworthy source. When it comes to market mix models, you need to be more like Goldilocks. If you try and go too granular, statistical noise is going to overwhelm the signal and is going to mean you're compromising on accuracy for granularity. And if you're going to go too aggregated, you do lose actionable insights and you miss important variations. You need to find a level that's going to be just right, finding that sweet spot where your data tells an accurate and actionable story. What do I mean by statistical noise? I'm talking about dealing with the beautiful real-world chaos in which we live. I'm talking about human free will. Let me demonstrate what this looks like with a hastily built simulator. But first, I want you to imagine that 100,000 people want to buy shells every year. To keep things simple, let's take away all influencing factors like time of year, discounts, or media, and just let these people purchase whenever they choose. So here's my simulator, no expense spared. Allowing each person to purchase purely at random might provide a sales pattern over the year that looks like this. Or if I rerun it and let everyone make their purchases like this. I can run it once more and again see how a new randomly allocated sales pattern might look. Okay, it's looking like we're pretty consistent in selling about 2,000 shells per week. That's pretty good going. Because we're selling a good number of shells, there's a high probability that each week we're going to see a similar number come through. Yes, there is a small level of deviation week to week, and that is our statistical noise, where just by chance more people decide to buy in one week than another. But that's pretty small, and we can still see a very clear signal here. But look what happens when I reduce the total number of sales across the year, maybe through just slicing my data to just look at one shell category, one of my sales channels. Week to week, we're seeing far more volatility. And this creates a much tougher environment for any type of analysis. A model has to then decide, are those spikes just random noise? Or in the real world, have they been driven by another event, a sale, media, discounts, competitor activity, etc.? Now, if you were leaning on digital attribution and you saw a spike, people might start to claim credit, highlighting their use of some new meme to deliver the best CPA they'd ever seen, when actually it was just noise. Likewise, when your sales bottom out, everyone might be shaking their heads and claiming they knew that the creative was rubbish. Market mix models have an advantage here. They expect noise, and they won't just allocate spikes to media just because it's there. But getting an accurate read on the role of your media is going to be tough. Now, yes, modern algorithms and Bayesian approaches are going to help us. But no matter what approach is taken, more noise degrades model performance by obscuring true signal. It fundamentally makes it harder to learn meaningful patterns. This is another reason why we at MeterNext believe so strongly in open source model testing, because it's easy for someone to agree to modeling at a very granular level, like that fellow in the pub. But without model governance, proving a model is wrong can be very difficult, and it might appear like you're getting exactly what you want. If you haven't seen our white paper on open source testing, I highly recommend giving it a read. It can be found on the MeterNext website. So let's put our Goldilocks cape back on. Aligning granularity with how decisions are actually made in our organization is the key to getting this right. Market mix models should be first and foremost behind some of the biggest marketing decisions you need to make, like what media budget do I need to hit my targets? What does an optimal channel mix look like? How should I balance brand building activity with performance media? The priority should be about answering questions that allow you to successfully plan forward. Any results you want from a model purely for the sake of reporting should be deprioritized, especially if you normally report at a level of detail because it helps in the absence of understanding the larger scale effects. As an example, it's common to be asked for results at an individual sales channel. And this might be because the business commonly sees higher transaction values from one channel than another. But this level of detail is no longer required if you're already able to make decisions that deliver the greatest overall impact, as the value of purchase has already inherently become part of your model. The other side of granularity is the input variables. Let's say our sell seller wants to compare the difference between 4 different creatives. I don't know why I made life so hard for myself with this name. They want to understand the difference between 4 creatives. Now, again, a quality modeler should not suggest that each creative is provided to the model as a unique explanatory variable. Again, it might feel like an advertiser is getting more for the money, but it's likely, again, to be costing them on accuracy. Here's my analogy. Imagine you are a paleontologist and you discover a heap of dinosaur bones. You jump straight in and start assembling the bones. It's a new dinosaur, never been found before, so you have to make it up as best that you can. Now, if you've only got 6 or 7 bones, it's going to be quite easy to put the bones together fairly accurately. And if another paleontologist had come along instead, it's likely that they would have also assembled a dinosaur in a pretty similar way to what you did. In modeling, we call this stability. The bones represent our variables, media channels, discounts, etc. And we're seeing consistency in the conclusions about how they come together. Now, imagine instead that the dinosaur is in far worse shape, got absolute battery when he died, sadly. And rather than 7 bones, you've got 100, got absolutely smashed by a meteor. You've got no instruction manual, so you do your best. But it's not always easy to tell if a bone is from a leg, an arm, a tail. And in this scenario, it's likely that multiple paleontologists would assemble the dinosaur in quite different ways. This is an example of instability. Multiple model runs coming up with different conclusions. What am I getting at? For the best accuracy, the key is being selective, giving a model a small number of highly informative data signals. Throwing everything at a model can see assembly that does not represent the truth. The good news is that once you have the right bones in the right places, then you can start to do deeper analysis. Because if you've got the leg bones correctly put on the legs and the arm bones on the arms, then you can start to analyze how that dinosaur would likely move, how it hunted, whether it was friendly or mean. And that's where you can then start to unlock granularity. But first, you have to get the bigger picture right. I think that's enough detail on how to approach detail in modeling. We're taking a break next week, but we'll be back to talk about your first market mix model and how newbies to the area should be approaching it. Thank you so much, and we'll be back soon.